All right, well, I'm here today with a famous comedian.
Who's here?
Who is here, who's somewhere in the room.
Who is here?
He's done JRE numerous times as one of the best spiritual podcasts, one of the best comedy podcasts, conspiracy podcasts. Been a great motivation for a lot of people in the scene. Been living in LA for a hell of a time. Creator of The Naughty Show, and a lot of things that other people forgot, and even more things that people remember. It's Sam Tripoli.
Thank you, dude. How are you, brother?
I'm good. I didn't think that I would be here today, but I am. The stars aligned, and you crushed it today. And I also didn't think Lee Sayat was that funny. Well, I mean, I didn't think he would be that funny.
The Flying Jew is the fucking shit, dude.
He's definitely surprised me
Christ
today.
killer? Thriller?
Yes, he was.
He did great, man. He's funny. I'm glad he did. He came and did the show. He said he was going to do the show. So he showed up, and it was a good crowd, man. It's like last show of the week, I'm kind of over my set, and I just want to talk to the crowd. So, I'm not doing the road as much as I would like to because, I have babies and COVID and all that fucking shit. So
a lot of things changed real fast.
Real quick.
Lee apparently is moving out here or living out here.
Lee is living just outside Milwaukee, and then he might be going to Boston. The big exodus, So yeah, it was cool, man.
You're sticking it out in LA. And the one thing that I noticed in LA or Hollywood in my time there is there are people that we meet in our lives, and it's very clear they have the personality. At some point in time, they're going to be in Hollywood. They're going to be in LA. And there's the list of people that are the blue pills that are just going to stay in the same hometown and work at the gas station, and that's fine. People need to be at the gas station. But I've noticed out there that there are people that Hollywood likes and the people that Hollywood is ready to push out. Yeah. And I've noticed that those people, people like you who create, the people who are creating things that Hollywood has done before, but we don't need the same process anymore. And what Hollywood loves is the people they're able to plug into the system.
Yeah.
And
plug and play.
Yep. And you've been there doing TV, making your own shows the whole time. And I'm wondering, what was the reaction to that? How did you feel you were being pushed out, or how are you welcomed but not really?
I mean, I got blackballed very early from just being, I was on the fringe forever, I had this show up in Montreal, big comedy festival, and I didn't do well. I followed this very great comic. Hold on one second. I followed this great comic. So I had this great comic that I was working with, and that I had to follow. I didn't do well. I didn't really know comedy that well, and at the time, I really hated it, and I was like kind of lost. I got lost in drugs and alcohol. And I don't regret any of those days because they were great. The coke and the blow and the fucking sex was wonderful. But while I was having fun, all my friends were like focusing on their career. And now they're like huge, like I used to co-headline with Sebastian Maniscalco and all these other guys. So
as you call them, the Mount Rushmore of comedy.
Yeah, dude, all my friends like kind of blew up. And, it ate me up pretty bad for a long time. But then just the blessing is that I stayed in the game long enough to realize like the YouTube and the power of like podcasting and the tinfoil hat, which is the one everybody knows about, was the fourth or fifth podcast on that feed.
Okay.
So I'd done not several, but 3 or 4 before that. That's
working with politics.
That failed. It's like they failed in terms of compared to my friends. So like my best friends are the Mount Rushmore of podcasting. I'm doing a podcast getting 5 to 10,000, which is an amazing number. But when your best friends are getting 100K, 200K, a million, it's kind of like, fuck, what am I doing wrong? It's like,
and you found your niche.
Yes.
And the one thing that I noticed is you always seem to have your niche audience. And, we can joke about, they're all strippers and yada yada. But you had the ability and the mind to organize them all. And that's something that I'm seeing nowadays is whether it be with rap and the music is trying to be like a mix of rock and electronic. Before all that happened, 10 years later, you were realizing in the comedy scene, you could just as well create your own thing. And you tied, a whole show together with The Naughty Show.
Yeah, I mean, like the whole thing is this is like a lot of people that blow up have they blow up off of being part of some kind of group, you know? Like, usually it's along ethnic groups or sexuality or genders, right? If you don't have any of that, it's very hard. So you got to find this kind of construct that you make that
Create your tribe.
Yeah, so, you know, so I was a late night comic. I did this show, Vivid Video. And I found that the people like the porn stars liked my comedy. But the biggest thing I ever learned was, like, when I started comedy in Vegas, I you know, everyone's like, oh, dude, they're, you know, comics in New York get 1,000 sets a night. And I'm like, fuck, I need a lot of sets. So there was one open mic every other week. So I decided to start my own scene, and I was just doing shows almost every night. Show at this bar, show at this bar, show at this bar, running at this open mic. And I just learned to produce naturally, which is like kind of like be a point guard of what's going on, and like an old school point guard, set everybody up for success. And that's kind of what translated into Comedy Chaos at the Comedy Store, which became like the premier comedy show in America. And then Tinfoil Hat, which is, I know people think I cut people off a lot, but I do let them talk. And I don't challenge them all the time, unless it's like really ridiculous, some hatred, but I really
allow
let them
everyone
go.
to get their piece out in the way that they want to say
And
it.
let the swarm figure out, which is the people listen to the show, if they fake the funk on a nasty dunk. So
Doesn't get more fair than that.
That's my whole opinion, you know. Let them do it. It's not really about me arguing, you know, with people. I'm just more like, for the hour, we're just going to believe whatever the fuck you're saying.
I do question, because the Naughty Show involved a lot of adult entertainers, was it just fate for you? Because I noticed at the same time your brother has a lot of strip clubs on the East Coast, isn't it?
Well, he's had some in like Phoenix. He's been in Arizona, Texas, Cleveland, you know, Ohio, some places in the South. So he's like he flips strip bars.
Was that a motivation for you, or did that just so happen?
Oh, I'm
that
the
in
older one, so it's probably more like I influence him. But, you know, our mother, who's a saint, our father is a fucking knucklehead scumbag. And I mean that in a loving way. Like, he was a slick, you know, he was like a wrong side of the tracks kid. And my mother had 2 kids with him. So, you know, it's like, and my brother, like, you know, it's like, I have no problems with strip bars or porn stars. It's like, you know, I worked in a strip bar after I graduated college. I went to work in a strip bar, and gotta be honest with you, man, those people were the kindest people I worked with, because nobody was trying to fuck anybody over to move up in the seat. Everyone was just like making dollars.
Commonality, yeah.
Everyone's trying to make $1. So I don't really judge, and that's a big thing in the conspiracy community. It's like, I don't want to free some people and enslave other people, in terms of, like, you know, it's like, oh, let's you know, let's let the you know, the conservatives or the people who love guns and the people don't want taxes, let's let them flourish, but let's pound on gays and pound on fucking, you know, dangerous women. That's not kind of my thing, dude. It's like, if you're an adult, I want you to, as long as you're not hurting anybody, stealing from anybody, do whatever you want to do. I don't give a
Classic
fuck.
libertarian values.
Yeah, just let go.
It's
You
like
know,
the old-
libertarians are great. I just again, I told everybody this 2 or 3 years ago. Libertarians, the leader of the Libertarian Party, is bought and sold, and you're seeing that right now with these tweets that they're doing. And it's just like, we really need to get out of, like, leaders.
Yep. It's your own personal responsibility that's there to save your soul.
Yeah, and we need to get back to, you know, making politicians scared again.
Amen.
You know, I saw that bumper sticker somewhere, and it's true, man.
We are the numbers. But
Nancy Pelosi, shady to Hillary Clinton. But, you know, it's like, here's the whole thing. It's like I said on stage tonight.
they're trying to call our bluff.
The Bush clan has destroyed both sides of the political party, and the Democrats are the last vestige of that, and we're seeing that kind of go out right now.
That's what I tell people in my podcast, and especially my generation. They have to realize they've been living in the Clinton-Bush matrix their entire life.
Yes.
Yeah. And their parents were influenced by that.
Yes.
And if they weren't influenced by that, they were influenced by the movements that were happening at the same exact time.
Yeah, depending on when you do. All from Reagan to Obama is the Bush clan. And before that, you know, was fucking Tricky Dick. And, you know, I'm not saying there's a time where politicians were you know, pure, but there was definitely more accountability. I mean, if Watergate happened today, it would be fucking brush off. The left would be fucking blaming the fucking security guard for everything. It's anything but the reality of the situation.
Yeah. And people only focus on the big topics, and they don't focus that, or realize rather, that they can focus on local politics and realize what's going on.
That's where you got to control everything.
Exactly, or at least the first step through the door, right?
Yeah.
You know, you started in Cortland, correct?
Outside, yeah, just outside Syracuse, 607.
In upstate New York.
Yeah.
So from starting there, what was the motivation to become a comedian and the process between getting there to LA? Or did you start from there, go to LA, and then the comedy
Well,
side?
the truth of the matter is like I wanted to be a comic from the moment I knew comedy. I didn't even know there was a term for what I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to make people laugh. From the moment I knew I existed in the universe, this is what I wanted to do. You know, and I flunked first grade. I never succeeded in anything in the structured environment of school. So I was always an outcast on that. Popular, made people laugh, but in high school, like being funny isn't seen as sexy. Go to college, game changes.
Right.
So I wanted to be class clown from the moment I went to high school, and that's kind of like the whole path. I always wanted to be comics. And now I went to Vegas because I thought it'd be a great place to start. And it was and it wasn't. My dad also ran a long con on me that convinced me to go to Vegas because he wanted to buy a house out there so he could write it off on his taxes so he can go gamble all the fucking time. Dude, my old man, I love him. He's just a fucking shady fuck. I love him, though. I love him.
Hey, I would definitely relate to that. When I would go to school, you know, I would be the guy who would be not teaching, but talking to my world history teacher, my U.S. history teacher, and like, you know, I know a little bit more what would happen, and he would know that, and he had more libertarian values, didn't grow up in the city, and, you know, next thing you know, I'm sitting next to him, I'm helping him get off topic, and there's a piece of paper out there that my parents kept since I was like preschool or kindergarten, and it's like I have to make something that I want out of every letter in my name, and with the C I made comedian. And I didn't know too much about that, but I know the feeling that I get when I'm helping people, or at least the energy that I'm exchanging with whatever realm that I'm dealing with. I also was the guy who was asking his grandmother, is any of this real? But that's a whole other piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think kids remember a whole lot more than we ever give them credit for. They just can't say it.
Well, they're very smart. They test them, and then we dumb them down.
But one of the favorite jokes, actually, I'm not even going to say one of the favorite jokes, the greatest bit of all time, in my heart, in my mind, you know, is
Silver Robot
Cracked Out Silver Robot Guy. And that was
a true story.
And that was the beginning of you moving to Hollywood, correct?
That's like within the first week of me being in Hollywood. This guy wanted to smoke crack with me. And then he tried to suck my dick. And I'm like, dude, I didn't know this was a two-part plan.
Right.
You just like smoke crack. And I really wasn't even a coke head at that time. I really didn't start coke till later on, like really getting into coke.
So was that like the first time that you like went hard in the paint with substances? Or?
No, I did
we don't have to
speed
get
like
on that,
one time before that because these two chicks wanted to have a threesome on it. But then my dick fucking shrunk. You get baby dick on fucking speed. I'm like, what are you chicks thinking of? You know, it's very interesting because like speed destroyed everybody in the 90s in Vegas, and then it just made a comeback. But yeah, and then I had a couple career stumbles. I'm not for everybody. I think everybody should see comedy the way I do, but I don't. I'm not very relatable. But I don't care. I like chaos, dude, on stage. Like, I love pissing people off.
Hey, you say you're not relatable, but I think that part of just the free will to just go balls to the wall, this is what I want to say, even though people aren't doing it, that's everything that they wish that they could do.
It's very interesting because some people hated that bit because it was just so free. And like they want to do a fucking,
they're scared of what could be
plug and play bullshit. And they just, one girl I was talking to, because she's a famous actress, I'm not gonna say her name, but she was struggling in the OR, and I just wanted to talk to her. And the OR is the original room at the Comedy Store, and I just wanted to talk her through it because it's like I've been playing that room forever. I know how to do it. I'm like, I want to talk to you. And she's just like, I know, it's just, I gotta find all these comics and they're doing jokes about smoking crack. I'm like, she doesn't even know she's talking about my own joke to me. And like, I should get nuts, but I'm like, I don't really give a fuck. But yeah, man, I just always wanted to be, a long time ago I learned like, there's some people have the Elvis effect, some people don't. And, I'm just me, dude, and I'm a lone wolf, I'm a Ronin, and some people like it. My goal is like, and I'm close to that, is like, if I played somewhere, I could put 300 people in one room. I'm really close to that. I kind of did it this whole week. And that's all I need, dude. I'm not ever going to be the guy. I like to talk shit. I don't think comedy should be patty cakes. I think, it's like, I talk about everything they find taboo.
Hey, I get it. When I was growing up, I'd go to school from the hours of 7 to 2 or 8 to 3. And after I get home from 4 to 6 or 4 to 8, I'm researching everything that I want to research, everything that's vibrating with me. And I'd go back and I'd tell my friends, oh, well, what do you think about this? Or this is what really happened with the Federal Reserve, or really happened with 9/11. I'm like, this young guy that's like, shouldn't be bringing it up. But
yeah, it's very interesting.
It set me free. And I'm like, you know what? You guys don't have to believe it. But one
Can't
day,
save everybody.
Correct. And down the line, I was at the point where I'm like, should I come out with more information like this? Should I not? And I think it was around the time of episode 3 of the Tinfoil Hat podcast came. So I'm wondering, when in your career did it go from going on the road and making epic comedy bits, did you decide now is the time to create the Tinfoil Hat podcast? Because, man, and also what inspired you, but what made you want to talk about, well, everything that everyone else is scared to talk about?
It's a great question. The truth of the matter is that Tinfoil Hat came from the fact that I was doing a podcast with a buddy of mine and we had a falling out. We had a podcast called the International Bad Boys Hour, and we had a rule: you don't give out other people's secrets. And he started talking about my using and abusing to get back at me because he didn't like me walking in on a podcast thing he was doing. So I decided right there I'm going to stop it. So I started doing these ranting shows, and they're fun. I can rant for an hour. But, I was just really watching this Clinton shit going down with the kneecapping of what appeared to be the kneecapping of Bernie. I think more that was just some smoke and mirrors bullshit. Like, where's all the money he raised? Like, who got that cash?
And what people don't bring up, he also was the establishment, but people couldn't see it.
Yeah, so he's saying all stuff, but he was resonating with people. He's paying stadiums. Mm-hmm. And Clinton was playing stadium.
Doing Joe Rogan numbers.
And Trump was playing stadiums, but for some reason, this woman who couldn't even fill a fucking cafeteria is like leading the poll. So and then people like Jimmy Dore and like Lee, what's his name, Lee Camp from RT News and all these people. I really like what they were doing, like talking about that. So. I decided like, hey, I'm going to do a conspiracy show, and I remember going, what should I name the show? And I was like, what is the most dangerous name? What do they hate? And I go, Tinfoil Hat. So I'm going to call it Tinfoil Hat. I looked up, there's no tinfoil hats. I couldn't find any, so I'm going to fucking do Tinfoil Hat, Mm-hmm. I think there was one that was like had been doing it for fucking ever, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm like, fuck it, I'll do a tinfoil hat. There's nobody using it right now. I'll fucking do it. And so I fucking did it. And then Eddie Bravo was like a good friend of mine. I know he was always in the conspiracies. We'd always be talking about what's going on with the war in Iraq, 9/11. So I'm like, come do my show. Let's talk about it. And so we're going, hey, and I go, welcome to Tinfoil Hat. He goes, what's the name of this podcast? I go, Tinfoil Hat. He goes, oh, you're calling it that? I go, dude, I'm like, it's like NWA, dude. We're like taking back the word, man. And that's where it kind of went. And, people are like, oh, Tinfoil Hat, man. That's the worst name ever. And it let people know what they're looking for. So, and then it really started out as just me interviewing comics about the conspiracies. And then just like bigger names started hitting me up. And I was just like, okay. Now it's like, The reason I could do 3 episodes a week on Tinfoil Hat is because it's like reading a book. It's like an audio book. I get my own audio book for 3 hours every week, so it's not hard work. And, getting Johnny to get everything done is the hardest part. Now, that's not negative against Johnny because he does a great job, but that's literally the hardest part of this whole thing. I ask, give me 8 talking points, and we go from there. And when we get done, we get done. And people get really mad at me because I cut people off, and they don't realize like I'm trying to take a really complex thing and make it digestible for stupid people. And I mean that with love because I flunked first grade.
There's an art to it.
Yeah, so the 12 people who understand what everybody's saying get really mad when I cut them off, but the rest of the people realize I have to fucking make it digestible what these people are saying.
That's the same thing I tell to people I interview is the people, like the mass amount of audience that you have, they're at this pattern. And the people who you're learning from are at this pattern. It's my job to make sure that it clicks in the line.
That's what you got to do. You got to take it. When I've always done political comedy from the start, but it was all dick joke political comedy. And like nobody got except for one of my friends, and he goes, the reason he does that is so people can digest what he's trying to say, which is totally true. I just wasn't obviously as articulate as George Carlin or any of those fucking guys. But,
Hey, there's a lot of people out there who appreciate people who piss off Chelsea Handler.
Well, there's a lot of people right now. There's some great political comedy going on.
True.
Tim Dillon, Ryan Long. These guys are like masters of what they do. And they're really good because they're not taking any one side and they're calling out everybody, which is what you're supposed to do.
Yep.
And it's resonating with people. And the old guard is dying. I'm about to release me yelling about Trevor Noah and Jim Jeffries, who I hate foreigners who come to America and do political shows when politically their home countries are in fucking chaos. So you have these Americans coming. Tim Dillon is fucking killing it, man. And it's like a really great thing to watch. I knew that guy when he was hosting shows in New York, and not that there's anything wrong with hosting shows, but now he's starting to play theater. He's a master of editing. He's got this editor guy that helps him edit. And like, that's how you do it, dude. He's going to do it Andrew Schultz style. The question is he going to take the cash and prizes of Hollywood? I don't think he should.
The temptation is there, but if you realize what you can get from sticking to yourself and have the strength to do so, as you've seen firsthand, it's there.
Dude, I mean, a gay. What they think he's a gay Republican. I don't think he's a Republican
Tim
at all.
Dillon?
Yeah, I think he's just a gay guy who's
sick of the system.
Shit, right. So they really like that. That's like a very. They've been waiting for this guy that can resonate, and I've always said. There's going to be a gay comic that crosses over.
Yeah.
And I always thought it was going to be this other guy. He just never did it. Tim Dillon is going to be it because, the truth of the matter is it's like comedy is so much about relatability.
And he has a younger audience too.
Well, it's like if he went up there talking about all the gay sex he's doing, it wouldn't translate. But the fact that he can talk for an hour about politics and it resonates with a lot of people.
He didn't fall into the trap they wanted him to.
Yeah. And so he's elevating, but that's also shows you the power of the Joe Rogan experience. Yeah. And why that thing is so fucking powerful.
He's the new Johnny Carson. And a lot of people would say, maybe not the old guard, but the people who were talking about conspiracies in, let's say, the class before, the Alex Joneses and the David Ikes, a lot of them take the hysterical, everything's lizard people route. And there was a time where I was watching Tinfoil Hat, maybe around the 150 episode mark, and I was wondering, is Sam Tripoli going to do the same thing? And lizard people is something that comes off in almost every conspiracy community, whether there's proof or not. But the one thing that calmed my mind to that is I realized you're having, and I've said it to you before, Tinfoil Hat in 5 years is going to be known as the Hall of Fame of independent researchers.
Thank you.
And you allowed everyone, or at least most people, I've seen everyone. A lot of people
I've calmed down. I have this British intelligence guy trying to tell everybody UFOs don't exist. It's like...
But 1 out of 100.
Yeah.
But you open the doors for people who have a following or are growing a following or at least are going on the right path.
Yes.
To have an hour to say what they're doing and
Weirder
to get
the
it out
better,
there.
dog. I had some guy talking about how mountains are just melted buildings. I'm like, oh, all right, dude. I felt like Chris Farley in that one. You ever see that sketch he did with the Hanson Boys? I think it's called him and Adam Sandler. And Adam's like, "Let me wash your grandma," and he's like, "For the love of God, let the boy wash your grandma." Sometimes I just gotta just let him do it and just try to. Had that girl said nobody was in the buildings 9/11. I thought she was gonna get murdered. They loved it. The weirder, the better.
Just
Now
thought nothing was real.
Just go to the bizarro all the time because then you won't get what the purpose of the show is, which is to be the kiddie pool, the training wheels of like some complex shit.
The first lily pad.
It's got to be, the simplest, man. And it's got to be digestible so anyone can jump in at any time. And there's going to be some people that get turned off. I just had, John, what's his name from Cro-Mags on the show. And, dude, we went hard in the paint, dude. We called out everybody. Some people get weirded out by that.
Hey, there's some people who think there, as we saw tonight in the audience, some people think there were planes. Some people say there were not.
How crazy was that chick? It's like, I'm a cashier, but I don't even think there were planes. I'm like, you don't even listen to a conspiracy podcast, and you're talking about holograms?
Yep.
And she was hot. I was like, God damn. She's like, I can't meet a guy. I'm like, just
Was
chill.
that the white pants one?
White pants.
White pants was something else. But, I mean, I think personally that they have to put out the no planes thing because if no one was on the plane, there's no connection to Saudi Arabia. But that's just me.
Well, no, the reason that's correct is because I believe the Saudis and the terrorists is all a layered bullshit.
Mm-hmm. Safari
That
Club
those
funding.
things, that it was the new version of Operation Northwood.
Yeah.
And they flew drones into that thing, hit it with explosives, and hit it with direct energy weapons because they had to nail it. It was a ritual.
It was a ritual, but it was also written in the PNAC agreement. Well, not necessarily that, but a Pearl Harbor-like thing. But that's a whole other episode. One thing that I noticed, as you open the doors to all these different people, you have every topic under the sun as basically the encyclopedia of conspiracy theories.
As much as possible.
And something I noticed with the That's What Happened network, we had our geopolitical wing, and we're noticed, as much as we like talking about, being right about everything, as it's called, and all the topics that are going on currently, we always end up talking about aliens or some spirituality or what is the soul actually and the history of America. Because if you have to talk about, before it's a conspiracy theory, it's American history. Rockefellers and Rothschilds are part of American and European history, and the mob's there all along the way. And there's the process of normalization. And I notice as much as we're talking about the spiritual stuff, I'm like, okay, we're doing a geopolitical podcast. I have to create a spiritual one. I have to create spiritual superclass. And I noticed around the same time, around the first time that I was on the Daily Dose, you were doing the same thing with Rockfin. And I noticed it's not necessarily my place, even though with every guest I have an experience that is similar. So as far as I'm concerned, I can vet that there's real magic there or a genuine story. But my purpose isn't to tell my story, and it's great that I can relate and form that relationship, but I'm able to bring people together and spread that knowledge in one big sandwich.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, what were you going through that you decided, okay, time to go down this spiritual road hard?
Well, it's like I started doing all these episodes with all these different experts in different fields, and they were all saying the exact same shit. Mm-hmm. And is that this is a very special place. It's much deeper. I started getting into like really wanting to help people change their lives. But I would do these episodes, and they were like they wouldn't get the viewership that the other ones got, and it's not that I don't want to. I like numbers are like the only thing that matters, but at the end of the day, it's like, okay, so these people want to hear about the lizards and the fucking Rothschilds and the fucking deep state, and that's what they're into. And like, if you don't honor the consumers, mm-hmm. they will go away. So I'm like, okay. So, but I'm in this place, I'm talking to Eddie. They're lying to us about what's really going on. I got Matt LaCroix coming on, telling me about ancient civilizations. I got Von Galt telling me about Buddhism. I got fucking Miguel Connor coming on, talking about fucking shapeshifting Jesus. And I'm like, man, there's a lot going on here, dude. And even though so I'm like, if you do conspiracy right, it always leads to spirituality. Mm-hmm. What have they been lying to us about forever? And it's that we're very special in a special realm. Mm-hmm. And that's what. So, and people don't want to hear about how you can change your life unless they're there to hear about how to change your life.
Yep.
So I said, and with Two Twins, this one website's just like, please do a show on our show. And I'm like, I'm doing too many shows. Please. And they like, we'll send you a monthly thing. Just do any show. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do a show. And I've always wanted to do a spiritual podcast. So here we go. And it's like the difference between that show and Tinfoil Has that I don't know about spirituality. So I'm learning on the go. Whereas like I've been into conspiracies my whole life. But, it's like I am really into, like, I'm learning so much about me. And, like, as once you start understanding that and the mindsets and all that shit, I'm, like, trying to fucking talk this chick in white pants. I'm trying to just, I have kids. I don't want to fool around with this fucking chick. I just want to be like, you could save yourself. Save yourself. And that's kind of what I'm doing with people.
And you've covered a lot of ground. You've covered numerous topics. You've organized it to the best about anyone could. And one thing that I want to thank you for, and I know a lot of other people do, is you create a lot. But one thing that I remember you said in an episode was keep uploading, keep putting out videos, and telling people not to stop. And that goes back to the thing that I said at the very beginning of this episode, which is there are people who honor the creativeness. There are people who, promote, keep doing what you're doing, hold out, it's going to show up one day. And then there are the people who plug in. And there are always going to be people who plug in. Yeah. And it's not our job to focus on that.
Can't save anyone else but yourself.
Correct.
Be your own boss. Build your own pirate ship. Raid some motherfuckers once in a while.
And one thing that I loved about watching your show is, as I said earlier, I would go home after school. I would research these things. And I just wanted a place to validate that the rest of the world isn't as dumb as I think it is. I was saying when I was younger, going to church or anything like that, I'm saying there's no way all of this can be exactly real. If it is, if people believe this, I'm on the wrong planet.
What's real?
Correct. And, I realized these things, I researched that, and, I found a show that hundreds of thousands of other people, I'm sure your numbers aren't even true.
I don't even know what the numbers are. I don't even know, dude. They tell me it's this, and that, but it's just every day. I'm like, I found your podcast. It's like, it's the same number every fucking time. So I'm not going to fucking, they can't dwell on that. I mean, the number itself is like, that's supposed to represent one listener, but I know that everyone listens with somebody else, usually couples. So I mean, it's almost... Tonight. I think it's probably at least a half times larger.
Well, you've
minimum.
You've definitely gone through a lot of different changes in your life and a lot of different settings and met a lot of different people. And it's brought you to where you are today with having one of the greatest conspiracy podcasts.
In a hotel room with some dude who just stole the light from another room. That's where we got.
Hey, we're making it happen.
You want to get all the kinks out now. You want to go through it. You want to fail now. You want to fucking do all that shit now.
And
because you're going to fucking fail at some point.
Yep.
It always comes, dude. The universe, everybody goes through it. At some point in their life, they go through it. And I don't wish it on any of my friends, but some of them have had a very wonderful ride, and they haven't gone through it. It's coming. Yep. Everybody goes through it. When you go through it, you either go through it young or you go through it late, but you go through it. I went through it for about 15 years. And now I'm on the other side. Who knows? It could come back around. But you want to fail now.
Hey, the last thing I want is a jump. As far as I'm concerned, I try to keep everything authentic, keep it moving forward, and my goal is to make
a bag of dicks now.
Yep.
And then later on, you'll be able to know how you survive eating a bag of dicks.
Hey, even if things end up being bigger than I thought they were yesterday, every single day is for practice to be better. Every single day is for getting the kinks out. And every single day is for learning about all the different topics I can and perfecting it to the best of my ability, and honestly just accepting it for who I really am and what the product turns out to be. And for that, I want to say thanks for being nothing more than who you are.
Anything, time, brother. You know, the key is to be fucking treat people well, stay hungry, never get fucking comfortable. Dude, getting comfortable is the number one way that people fuck themselves up.
That fire's in us for a reason.
When they get too comfortable with their boss, too comfortable in their relationships, and you do every day, you gotta think, today I could lose my job. Today somebody could go listen to somebody else's podcast. And dude, treat people nice. You're not as high as your highs and as low as your lows. Just keep trucking. And dude, the only, constant in the universe is change, so you gotta adapt or die.
Yep.
But man, the number one thing is don't get comfortable.
Can I ask you one question?
Yeah, of course.
So, for like a lot of newcomers, is there anything that sticks out to you that you would personally you would just say like, here's a good starting point.
In terms of what?
In terms of like getting into like conspiracy theories and stuff like that, even on your own personal tinfoil hat.
Are you talking about where to start listening to the show, or how you yourself can get into conspiracy podcasts?
Like, as far as what do you think are some good beginner episodes for?
Great question.
Great
question. I mean, that's a great question, man. I always say start from the beginning and just grow with the show, But there's certain episodes. There's certain episodes that for me have changed my life. Any of the Matt LaCroix episodes with Jeffrey Wilson on Ancient Knowledge, those are great shows. Larry Gators seems to excite people. A lot of Eddie Bravo with me, early shows where they won't necessarily just all flat earth, but they were just fun conversations with my friends. That's great. You really want to start on a good one? Go to my first 9/11 episode with Greg Carlwood and listen to us talk about Building 6. Okay. And from there, you can start fucking going there, man. And we talk about everything. And it's just like, black nobility. Look up, but I think Greg Carlwood's the really great one. And then, if you want to have a little fun, get into the Free Britney, or like the occult with all these fucking pop divas. Like, those are great things. Bishop Larry Gators, those are really fun ones. Then you can start getting some super complex shit. Like some of the stuff we've been doing lately is kind of fun. Getting off of fuck, Just, I think, it's like, here's the thing, dude. When I started this podcast, there was another podcast. I'm not going to say the name, but it was buying into the whole Russian Gate thing. And they were just going, and I told them, you're fucking betting on the wrong horse. And they got really angry at me because they came up with the best name. And that's a really important thing for a podcast, is their name. The name is almost as important as anything else.
That's why we're crushed.
Like the name is fucking very important because they want to know exactly what they're getting. And this was a great name. And they got a lot of people. And then it just started coming out that it wasn't real. And I haven't heard from them again. So, and not that they aren't doing, they're probably doing something, but that certain thing didn't work out. So you got to pick the name, man. But the point is, I've been doing this podcast since 2017. And if I was wrong all the time, the podcast would be over. But it's still growing. So that's the key to everything.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So a good final message from Sam Tripoli would be to stay positive.
Dude, just like believe in yourself. You might as well be your only fam.
Don't get comfortable.
Don't get comfortable. You're not as high as your highs. You're not as low as your low. And like, You know, it's like build your own brand. The internet is now the new Main Street. You can find something to make money on, and just the key is like 1,000 fans give you $100 a year. It's not that hard. You just gotta find 1,000 fans, and you can do it. And when you build your own thing, listen, you don't want 9 to 5. You want to be independent. You're gonna get a 24/7, but it's gonna be the best 24/7 you ever did. You can do it. You gotta ask yourself, why not me? Why not me? Your life can be completely different 365 days from now. A 180 turn if you just change the way you view yourself and view everything else.
That's a great positive note to end on. Thanks again, Sam.
My
Thanks for
pleasure.
your time.
Thank you very much.